So here, Nisargadatta starts speaking to the few people in his little attic. I don't know how many there were. They could have been 100, they could have been 5. So he says to somebody, can you sit on the floor? Do you need a pillow? Have you any questions to ask? Not that you need to ask, you can as well be quiet. To be, just be, is important. You need not ask anything, nor do anything. Such apparently lazy way of spending time is highly regarded in India. It means that for the time being, you are free from the obsession with what next. When you are not in a hurry, and the mind is free from anxieties, it becomes quiet. And in the silence, something may be heard which is ordinarily too fine and subtle for perception. The mind must be open and quiet in order to see. Right? And what we are trying to do here is to bring our minds into the right state for understanding what is real. The questioner says, but how do we learn to cut out worries? He says, don't worry about your worries. Just be. Do not try to be quiet. Do not make being quiet into a task to be performed. Don't be restless about being quiet. Just be aware that you are and remain aware. Don't say, yes, I am, what next? There is no next in I am. It is a timeless state. So don't be restless about being quiet. Just be aware that you are and remain aware. So what he's pointing to here, which is really very important, is the only thing we really know for sure, without it being a concept, without it being an idea, without it being an opinion. The only thing we know for sure is that we are. I am. Right? Nobody has to tell you you are. You know that. And that's where we need to begin. Being with this I am. I exist. You are. Actually, if you take away the I and you say am, there's a stillness. Because am is what the I is. This I that we take to be the me, see, there are two I's. There's the me, and then there's the ultimate. That ultimate I is always there. How do we know this? Because you must look for what in you never changes. What in me never changes is an important question. The body changes. The thoughts change. The feelings change. The sensations change. What never changes? The sense I am. that same I am when you were 3, when you were 13, when you were 23. That is here now. That's the real I. And then there's the ego I, the me, which is always changing, but who we believe we really are. That's who we take ourselves to be. And from there we act. And from there we suffer. And from there we have pleasure. Absolutely. But it's not real. So we've taken that which is not real to be real. And that which is real, we either don't know of, even though we feel it, but we certainly don't give it the attention. So we're in the me, constantly in the me. So he's saying here, just be aware that you are and remain aware. That's that I that is. When the thoughts stop, even for a few seconds, that I is there. It's always there. But that I is known. And there's not a knower who knows it. It knows itself. See, it can't be known like an object. It can't be known like the me can be known, right? That me can be known. This I, the awareness, the non-conceptual awareness, I, can never be known as an object. Because you are it. You cannot be that which you can see, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see it. So it's important to look, well, what do I see? Well, I see the body, I see the thoughts, I see the feelings, I see the table, I see the lamp. That's clear. This is not who I am. The seeing is the I am. Seeing, listening.
That which sees.
That which sees, that which listens, that which hears. It's like looking without a looker, hearing without someone who hears. Openness, spaciousness, peace. That is our true nature, and that's what Nisargadatta is pointing to. Because it's only from there, from that realization, that there can ever be true peace. Otherwise, it's momentary. It's only from there that there can be true happiness. But more than happiness, because happiness is fleeting, and happiness usually is brought about by something that caused it. But joy, the beauty of joy, that's the I am. And that's the only knower of joy. Again, you can't really know it, you are it. You are joy. That's why that beautiful word is the word joyful, full of joy. So, he goes on. So he says, there is no next in I am. It is a timeless state. Yes, because the ego is in time. The body is in time. The I am that you really are is timeless. It cannot be found in time. It cannot be found in space, because it cannot be found. It's what you fundamentally are. And in that, everything arises. The body, the thoughts, the senses, the objects of the world. In that it arises. It's timeless. So the man says, if it is a timeless state, well, it'll assert itself anyhow. Nisargadatta, you are what you are timelessly. But what use is it up to you unless you know it and act on it? Your begging bowl may be pure gold, but as long as you do not know it, you are a pauper. You must know your inner worth and trust it and express it in the daily sacrifice of desire and fear.
That's a weird sentence.
Okay, let's look at it again. See, from a sage, how powerful, how it points right to where it has to go. No nonsense. You must know your inner worth. He means your true nature. Right? The treasure that you really are. And trust it. And express it. But in the daily sacrifice of desire and fear. When there is desire, when there is fear, it cannot be expressed. Because the me is expressing itself as desire and fear. So, but what is one to do? Desires come, fears come. So we don't struggle with it. We witness it. Because this true nature, this I am, this fundamental treasure, is a witnessing consciousness. So we witness. Desires arise, we witness it. If they're very strong, so fill it. So what? Fill it. It's okay. Fears arise, if they're very strong, look at it, deal with it. Whatever arises from this ego me needs to be witnessed, needs to be looked at, dealt with if it can. But if not, let it go, because as it came, it goes. And you know this is true. Whatever thought, whatever feeling, unless it's really very traumatic, it comes and goes like the clouds. If you don't dwell, if you don't give it life. If you give it life, then it'll grow. But if you merely witness it, and you let it go, it goes. So it comes back again, but it goes. In the daily sacrifice of desire and fear, can we give up our desires? Do we want to give up our fears?
And I could also witness my inability to give up my fear.
Yes, you're right. That's right. Yes, that's right. That's part of the witnessing. No judgment of anything that arises. Once there's a judgment of what arises, the ego is back judging itself.
But I think this applies to the very traumatic as well. You were saying that if it's really traumatic, it's a different situation.
Well,
but
yes.
I think it applies to death, loss, everything. And what
Sure.
wouldn't it apply to?
Yes,
Right?
you're
All
right.
trauma.
You're right. It applies to everything. It's just more difficult,
Yeah.
clearly. So fine. But yes, you're 100% right. It applies to everything. So, but let's start with the easier things. Let's start where we can,
Yeah.
so that we're able to see the arising of desires and fears that drop this veil over the I am and cause a misidentification. And we're back into the me. So, well, if I know myself, shall I not desire and fear? So Nisargadatta says, well, for some time the mental habits may linger in spite of the new vision. The habit of longing for the known past and fearing the unknown future. And that's the root of fear, obviously. Right? Fearing of that unknown future. When you know these are of the mind only, you can go beyond them. As long as you have all sorts of ideas about yourself, you know yourself through the midst of these ideas. To know yourself as you are, your true nature, give up all ideas. Give up all concepts. Give up all images of who you think you are. Right? We think we know ourselves through the images that we've accumulated about ourselves, which are based on ideas, concepts, and experiences that are made up from those ideas, beliefs, and concepts. He says, give those up. Can we give those up? Why not? If we can stay for a second even in pure being, then where is this body? And is the body a male? Is it a female? From the point as pure being, just as pure being. Pure being has no ideas of itself. It has nothing that belongs to it. It just is. Pure being. Where does it begin? Where does it end? It has no boundaries. Stay in pure being, without a movement of thought. Where does it begin and where does it end? It's spaciousness. Timeless spaciousness. There's not even a sense of time in pure being. And the beauty of it is, in pure being, without the movement of thought, what is needed? What could possibly be desired? And it's recognized because it is what you are and you know it. Because you've been it all your life. Pure being. It's not something foreign to you. You've just never focused in on it. You focused in on the me. And not what's behind it, the pure being. He says, as long as you're interested in your present way of living, you won't abandon any ideas. Discovery cannot come as long as you cling to the familiar. It is only when you realize fully the immense sorrow of your life and revolt against it that a way out can be found. So all he's saying is just when you see the life of this me and the suffering and the sorrow that it has caused, and you're saying enough, no more, no more. can start, because then you're ready. But if you're afraid, because at least I know it, I'm familiar with it, it feels safe, it feels comfortable, then that's what you've got. You've got the me, and the other, which he said in the beginning is so subtle. It's there, but that's not who you know yourself to be. The man says, I can now see that the secret of India's eternal life lies in these dimensions of existence, which India was always the custodian. Nisargadatta, it's an open secret, and there were always people willing and ready to share it. Teachers there are many. Fearless disciples, very few. Well, the guy says, I'm quite willing to learn. Nisargadatta, learning words is not enough. You may know the theory, but without the actual experience of yourself as the impersonal and unqualified center of being, love, and bliss, mere verbiage is sterile, right? So we need to experience. But there's not a me who can experience it. Because then it's the ego claiming an experience. You see. But it's going past the mind into what you fundament pure being. Know yourself there. Own yourself there. Then it's real. Well, the man says, then what am I to do? Again, Nisargadatta, try to be. Only be. The all-important word is try. Allot enough time daily for sitting quietly and just trying to go beyond the personality with its addictions and obsessions. Don't ask how, it cannot be explained. You just keep on trying until you succeed. If you persevere, there can be no failure. What matters supremely is sincerity and earnestness. You must really have enough of being the person you are and now see the urgent need of being free of this unnecessary self-identification with a bundle of memories and habits. This steady resistance against the unnecessary is the secret to success. So you've got to be earnest about it. You've got to really want it. And you've got to feel, yeah, there's been so much identification with this me, with its fears, with its desires, with its conditionings, with its judgments, with its opinions. So much self-identification, me, and mine.
So we need a me-free zone.
Yes.
I was just thinking, these athletes, they go into these bariatric chambers where their oxygen is all that. It's supposed to really heal them deeply and get more years of playing time. So what if we all had these, I was thinking, me-free zones. And this image came to my mind like, everybody knows what it looks like to sit in an electric chair, right? So they're going to fry you. But suppose at the end of the day you could sit in this chair, put this little device on, right? And you just flip the dial and no thoughts move, right? Somehow You know, you're not harmed, but you get what everybody who practices yoga and meditation for 40 years, suddenly now we can bring you to that deeply quiet peace of no thought, which means no me. Now, obviously, all the stress comes from the me, and that's why we all die relatively early as humans. So, but now, if I could get all that me-free zone time, right? I'm prolonging my life because I'm benefiting from this deep, deep inner peace.
And there's no me that's benefiting.
Absolutely. No me. Well, there's no me that's benefiting because I turned them off.
Good.
The me only moves with thought.
That's right.
The me is thought and action.
That's right. That's right.
So until they invent that machine though.
We have to do it.
Yeah, we have to do it.
We have to do it.
The old fashioned.
What was that
Until you
movie, Men in Black? The one
Right.
that, you said that,
Yeah.
what did they do? They
Zap it.
zapped you?
Yeah, that was like the movie Men in Black, right? They went around and if you saw the aliens, they guy took out his pen and hit you with a beam of light, and it erased your memory of seeing a Martian, so you couldn't run havoc in the community by telling everybody. Well, that would be like the machine. Yes, I could sit, turn off the me, and without any thoughts, there is no me. There's just pure
Being.
knowing being.
It's interesting that our phones are called I.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Sort of a kinder way to look at ECT or phlebotomy, you know. And it does have a temporary effect of short-term memory loss.
Yeah, yeah.
That helps
I mean, it's
people.
not what I would recommend, but it's still interesting that people that are really, really depressed
Yes.
can often be
Mhm.
literally jolted out of that vegetative.
Yeah, because it all has to do with the mechanics of thought.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
breaking the habit.
yeah, yeah.
So he says, so the steady resistance against the unnecessary. Just look in everyday life at what we think is so necessary and is really so unnecessary is the secret of success. After all, you are what you are every moment of your life, your true nature. But you are never conscious of it, except maybe at the point of awakening from sleep. You know, before the thoughts start. And all you need is to be aware of being, not as a verbal statement, but as an ever-present fact. The awareness that you are will open your eyes to what you are. Right?
Excuse me, just a minute. I just thought of another benefit of my machine.
Oh, good.
And it
I want to
just,
invest in it.
it's just what you just said. It's just what you just said, because not only do I have the benefit of having my me suspended and all the angst that goes with it while I'm me identified, right? When I come off the machine, right, I now have a clarity, and I'm better able to see when the me intrudes. And if I'm better able to see when it intrudes, then I can witness it, and in my witnessing, lots of times it dissolves.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So I'm
Yes.
a little sharper at catching my tendency to just absent-mindedly identify with it when my me comes in, because I've had the benefit of being me-free. Being me-free makes me a more sensitive to its next intrusive thought.
Yes.
This is why we meditate.
That's
Yes,
right.
I'm saying
That's
absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
Right. That's right. And that's why Krishnamurti always said meditation is every moment. Because every moment, watch the intrusion of this me. With choiceless awareness, he would say. With choiceless awareness. When there is a choice, then the me is back. With choiceless awareness, watch how it intrudes, how it comes up, where it comes up, and the different shapes it takes. It's really quite fascinating when you watch it. Okay, so now, I see the person says, so much evil in myself. Must I not change it? Nisargadatta. Evil is the shadow of inattention. In the light of self-awareness, it will wither and fall off. Evil is the shadow of inattention, not being attentive. Right? Then you're not giving attention to this me. There's no attention.
Say it again. Evil?
Evil is the shadow of inattention, non-attention, no attention. In the light of self-awareness, it will wither and fall off. Remember, nothing you perceive is your own. Nothing of value can come to you from outside. It is only your own feeling and understanding that are relevant and revealing. Words heard or read will only create images in your mind. But you are not a mental image. You are the power of perception and action behind and beyond the image. Oh, the person says, you seem to advise me to be self-centered to the point of egoism. Must I not yield even to my interest in other people? Your interest in others is egotistic, self-concerned, self-oriented. You are not interested in others as persons, but only as far as they enrich or ennoble your own image of yourself. And the ultimate in selfishness is to care only for the protection, preservation, and multiplication of one's own body. By body, I mean all that is related to your name and shape, your family, your tribe, your country, your race. To be attached to one's own name and shape is selfishness. A man who knows that he is neither body nor mind cannot be selfish, for he has nothing to be selfish for. Or you may say he is equally selfish on behalf of everybody he meets. Everybody's welfare is his own. The feeling, I am the world is myself, becomes quite natural once it is established. There is just no other way of being. There is just no way of being selfish. To be selfish means to covet, acquire, accumulate on behalf of the part against the whole.
Wow.
Okay, so now he's really sucking it too. Right? He's given it. Okay, so now the man says, in your present state, can you love another person as a person? Nisargadatta. I am the other person. The other person is myself. In name and shape, we are different. But there is no separation. At the root of our being, we are one. Because your true nature is no different than my true nature. There's only one reality, one without a second. That's what this teaching is about. Reality, what is real. And there's only one without a second. And that's what you are. That's what we all are. So yes, names and shapes are different, but who you fundamentally are and who I find, it's one. So yes, you're every other person and every other animal and every other living and non-being thing, because it's all consciousness. It's all the absolute. It's what our true nature is, free of this me. Well, the person says, is it not so whenever there is love between people? Well, it is, but they are not conscious of it. They feel the attraction but don't know the reason. Why is love selective, says the man. Love is not selective. Desire is selective. In love, there are no strangers. When the center of selfishness, the me, is no longer, all desires for pleasure and fear of pain cease. One is no longer interested in being happy. Beyond happiness, there is pure intensity, inexhaustible energy, the ecstasy of giving from a perennial source. Beyond happiness. So really happiness in this teaching is part of the me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine, but it's not the real thing. To get to this real thing, pure intensity, inexhaustible energy, the ecstasy of giving from a perennial source. The person says, mustn't I begin by solving for myself the problem of right and wrong? Nisargadatta, what is pleasant, people take it to be good. And what is painful, they take it to be bad. The person, yes, that is how it is with us, ordinary people. But how is it with you at the level of oneness? For you, what is good and what is bad? Nisargadatta. What increases suffering is bad, and what removes it is good. The person, does one suffer only for one's own sins? Nisargadatta, one suffers along with what one thinks oneself to be. If you feel one with humanity, you suffer with humanity. Person, and since you claim to be one with the universe, there is no limit in time or space to your suffering? To be is to suffer, he says. The narrower the circle of my self-identification, the more acute the suffering caused by desire and fear. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the narrow?
Yeah, say that again.
I don't get
Okay.
that. Wait.
The narrower the
The
circle
more
of my
strongly.
the narrower my circle of self-identification. I'm identifying.
It sounds like it's lessening.
No, but it's like it's putting a circle around the center and identifying everything with it.
One thing that comes to mind is gets lonely at the top.
Yeah. It's an odd choice of words.
Yeah, it's the word that
It means
gets
the
me.
stronger my
So
identification.
the stronger.
Well,
yeah.
say that's right. That's an easy. Yes, obviously, the stronger my self-identification, the more acute their suffering caused by desire and fear.
Right.
Desire and fear is brought about by self-identification with this me. So that's all he's saying. So, the person says, well, can there be no suffering that is necessary and good? Accidental or incidental pain is inevitable and transitory. Deliberate pain, inflicted with even the best intentions, is meaningless and cruel. So, the person says, you would not punish crime? Punishment, Nisargadatta says, is but legalized crime. In a society built on prevention rather than retaliation, there would be very little crime. The few exceptions would be treated medically as of unsound mind and body.
Meaning unawareness? Like lacking.
Well, yeah, you know, there are some people who are damaged, body and mind, right? And so those people have to be taken care of. In other words, even a society with prevention rather than punishment, you will have certain body minds that are sick. And so those people you will treat. But you look at it entirely differently. And isn't there, there's a recent documentary about the prison system, I think, in Germany, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the attitude they take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's proving so...
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, it's quite amazing the results they're getting, isn't it? It was
Yeah.
a beautiful
Yeah.
documentary.
By prevention?
Well, the prisoners are not locked up. They work on farms. You know,
They have a key to this.
It's more like a big dormitory. They have a key to their room. They can escape if they want to. Some of them, right? You know, it's a whole different mindset that you're here to get rehabilitated rather than punished. And so even this guy that was a convicted murderer was there, working as a cook in the cafeteria, and the journalist was there getting interviewed, and he said, "What are you here for?" "Oh, I murdered somebody." "Would you like your eggs over or?"
Okay, so, to know what man believes, watch how he acts. Well, but the person says words are needed for communication. Nisargadatta, for exchange of information, yes. But real communication between people is not verbal. For establishing and maintaining relationship, affectionate awareness expressed in direct action is required. Not what you say, but what you do is what matters. Right? Well, we know this, don't we all know this? Right. No? Right?
I mean, words, I think words can be very powerful, right? I mean, with saying you're sorry, clearing up a misunderstanding.
Yes.
I mean,
It's true.
it's true, the
But
actions
they would have
are...
to be actions that go along with it, no contradiction. Usually there's contradiction between what people say and what they do. I think what he's talking about here is there would be no contradiction.
Okay,
So what I say and what I do are
Okay.
one,
that makes sense.
seamless.
What comes to mind? What you do speaks so loud I can't hear a word you say.
Okay, and we're almost finished now with this. Nisargadatta says, a level of mental maturity is reached when nothing external is of any value and the heart is ready to relinquish all. Then the real has a chance and it grasps it. Delays, if any, are caused by the mind being unwilling to see or to discard. a level of mental maturity is reached when nothing external is of any value and the heart is ready to relinquish all. You know, the realization that nothing outside is going to bring that peace, that joy. And I'm ready to let go. Last time we met, we talked about acceptance and surrender and letting go. The heart being ready to relinquish all. Letting go. Letting go. The person says, are we totally alone? Oh no, Nisargadatta says, we are not. Those who have can give, and such givers are many. The world itself is a supreme gift maintained by loving sacrifice. But the right receivers, wise and humble, are so few. Ask and you shall be given is the eternal law. So many words you have learned, so many you have spoken. You know everything, but you do not know yourself. For the self is not known through words. Only direct insight will reveal it. Look within, search within.
You know, I had a Hispanic family in my office today, and it was a very heavy thing that had to be discussed. And I speak very little Spanish, and they spoke very little English.
Oh, wow.
But we managed to have a discussion about a child revealing something to a parent and being listened to and heard, and then in between a little bit of translation. But really, you're right. I mean, the words didn't matter because there was this huge feeling of love, ultimately, that came across. And we all understood each other.
That's right.
It was phenomenal.
That's right.
But some words were needed because this child had to get something out.
Yes.
But love prevailed
That's right.
in
And what
a
was
deep,
heard.
deep way. And, you know, and we held hands afterwards.
Yes.
It was,
Wow.
you know, I didn't need the translator, you know, and it was really interesting. So
Right. Yes.
the words are needed for some structure of
Yes.
expression of damage or of,
Right.
but
But
we don't need the
communion-
words ultimately.
Communion.
Yeah, absolutely, it was
It
communion.
goes beyond communication.
Yeah, Yes.
And that's what you're describing.
Yeah.
Sometimes words get in the way, like when I'm in Costa Rica, I don't speak that much
Yeah.
Spanish either, but Paul does, so he
Yeah.
listens for the words, and I can
keep
have
doing this.
We knew we're gonna, it's gonna wind up.
I know
All
it's
the way back to Paul. Keep it
It's gonna wind up in the beginning, yeah.
We could go crazy with this.
Let's go.
I was gonna start going over this.
But like I said, like,
Yeah.
you know, but I can understand like what my gardener wants to say, and he understands me, but there's very little Spanish being, you know, talked about, because I can feel them. You know what I
It's
mean?
crazy because I speak a bit of Spanish, and he and I can talk for an hour, and I don't know what the hell he's saying. And Karen knows everything he said. Everything, then she'll talk back to him, and he'll know what she
He'll
said.
know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she's speaking in English.
Yes, yeah. It's
Yeah.
And
really
I'm
just-
speaking
all the
Spanish,
time it
and he's like,
happens.
you know,
Yeah.
So funny.
I have a question. If all of our true nature is the same universal being, what accounts for our different manifestations?
Conditioning. Conditioning.
What's that again?
Conditioning. There's been each body mind has been conditioned.
But even physically, why, or given,
Karen.
Well, this is fine.
Oh,
This is
did
good.
we run out?
Yeah.
Good.
First
Oh,
time
I'm
ever.
sorry.
It's okay.
There's
Oh.
bigger cups.
Yes, it's
No,
the
it's,
big.
yeah.
Oh, really? I'm terribly sorry. I've got to get another.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, all they need is a
Yeah.
sip.
Some of us are drinking, we're all drinking.
That's it.
Oh, good one, good one.
Do you want that? No, thank you, not at all.
I'm
So-
running here.
Oh, no,
No, we
not
don't
for me,
drink it.
thank
You
you.
don't drink it?
I've had my tea today, so
Thank
maybe
you,
Bill.
thank you.
Bill.
Bill.
Okay,
No, I'm
you
good.
take this.
Bill,
Bill.
the cameraman.
Thank you.
Bill. What counts
Cheers.
for the different manifestations?
Salute.
Well,
Salud.
that's consciousness. That's just consciousness expressing itself. Why does it have to not? Why would there not be different manifestations? Look, consciousness. That bug, that
Yeah.
fly. Consciousness. It's all consciousness. Why not? Each body mind acts differently in this waking dream based on its conditioning, right? But why not have different manifestations, different shapes, different, of course.
So it's possible to be a different instrument.
Good.
Right? Without ego.
That's right.
If
Good.
you are an artist and I play the violin, or we have different instruments. If we're all instruments of God, we have different qualities, different talents, different
Of course.
expressions, right?
Mm.
But we all share the same consciousness.
Actually,
Yeah,
we are
Unique
instruments. This
instrument.
body-mind is an instrument.
right.
But what comes through it is consciousness.
But different.
Different, of
each.
course, but it's when we then identify with it. I'm a singer.
Yes.
I'm a this. See,
Right.
then we personalize it and it
Attach.
becomes the ego.
Right.
But actually, what's streaming through all of us?
Right.
Right? It's that consciousness.
But it'll manifest in unique ways,
Ah, yes, of course.
which is beautiful.
But the source is one.
Right.
And we also sort of know something by its opposite. You know, we know darkness because we know light.
Mm.
So we know
Mm.
stillness and oneness because we know, because we know like many, and we know impermanence.
Yes, at some level, on this level.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, you don't need any opposite to
Right.
know that you are. And that's non-duality.
What do you mean when you say knowing the opposite?
Well,
We are.
I think no. I mean, I think in this life, I mean, in our ordinary life, you know, If everything was all light, you wouldn't really know light.
Yes, of course. We need duality to function in this world, obviously, of course. But we're looking at the ultimate reality. See, we've taken duality, which is needed to function in this everyday world, as the only reality. And what sages throughout history have been pointing to is that you've taken for what is not real to be real. And that's why you suffer. That's what the Buddha was teaching. So what is real? The next question must be, what is real then? That which never changes. What is it that never changes? Look and see. Look inside your own self. Search within. The sense I am, that sense I am, has never changed. You have never not been. Your experience has never not been. We're told we were born. We're told when we die the world can die. But that's not the experience. This sense I am has always been. And if you let yourself just be, you know that. Not the me. We're not talking about this me. Can we do this? First of all, does it even make sense? If it doesn't make sense, then it's another idea, another concept. But we're finished with ideas and concepts. We want to know what's real. We want to know joy. We've had enough. So we have to look inside. Well, if what's real never changes, well then what has not changed in me, in this body-mind? So I have to look and see what has changed, right? Mm-hmm. But even that which sees what has changed has never changed. Mm-hmm. So what is that?
You know, the thing that really helps me, I watch Ira like 2 hours a day, every day. He really it's gotten so sweet to me, you know, it's like, you really get it if you listen to him.
Good, yes.
It's like he's put in 45 years, a boot camp for us. So all we do now is listen to him and we get those 45 years of experience.
Yes.
You know, I think we also complicate it though, because if we could bring ourselves, and I'm not talking about a memory, because I know that we get confused with that, or I do. But if we can actually remember looking out as a child, that looking, because this is the first time I've heard you describe this as seeing or looking, because I do remember memory, but looking out, somehow being alone on a corner in the city, and just looking. Now that looking is the same thing now.
That's right.
In between all these millions of years and problems, I remember that looking. Now, is that a memory?
You're knowing it right now.
It's an experience.
It's an experience.
That's right.
But other times we talked about it and we felt it was a memory. But it's...
What is it? You say. Say, what is it right now?
It was a looking without any label. It was a looking without any emotion. There was no, I wouldn't say it was joy.
Fine.
No emotion.
Fine.
Just a looking.
Yes.
And it's the same looking now.
That's right.
And
that's right.
I can recall that looking. Now, that
It's the
is-
same looking now.
right. So I mean, it begins in childhood. If we could
Yes.
bring
Wherever-
ourselves
yes,
back.
Yes,
to
wherever
that.
it
Do you know what I
begins.
mean? Is that-
But yes, wherever it begins, the point is it's here now.
Yeah,
And that's the only place we are.
yeah,
That's the only reality,
yeah.
is now. And that now is eternal. Because that now is not time, is not in time.
I always thought when you said a second without one without a second, until tonight, I always thought you meant a second.
Ah, no.
Oh, it's
Not
a time.
Yes.
No. No
So,
time.
but a one without a second.
One with it is not, there's one reality. And it's just outpouring itself, streaming itself through
Right.
these body minds.
Because a second would imply duality, obviously.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
It's-
That's
Founded me.
So, isn't there like a little bit of an excitement about this treasure that you are? Isn't there a beauty in it? That's true beauty. An innocence. Beauty. And then the me comes in. And then the me comes in and distracts us and takes us and scares us.
But didn't you point out earlier that the me is essential for what I would call self-preservation, a fear that actually makes sense? Otherwise, you're existing in a space that probably isn't going to last very long, considering what's going on in the rest of the world.
Well, your instincts for self-preservation, if you see a bus speeding toward you, intelligence would operate. You jump out of the way, right?
Right, or if you're in India during a period of time when unrest is coming over the mountain.
Right.
I mean, me is terrific, but me isn't going to last very long if you don't do something about it.
I don't need a me in order to see. I don't need a me in order to see. There is seeing. And there's more clarity when the me isn't there.
Yeah.
Because then the me is going to see with fear. And the me is going to want self-preservation and there's no clarity. But without the me, I can clearly see the bus coming, or the protesters or whatever, or the terrorists, or I can see clearly. And then there's action. Because your true nature is not devoid of intelligence.
Right.
But you need clarity to be intelligent, right? I mean, with anything, you need clarity. And you need a calm mind. So why do I need this me? I need the thinking, the me is thought, so there is a thinking that knows how to drive a car and write a check, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about that thinking that has identified itself as the real thing inside the center of this body-mind. But what is it? It's memories. It's opinions. It's thoughts. It's a computer printout. But what's real? What's behind it? That's where there's clarity. And a sharpness of being. And then you can read. You read another person, you read the situation, but without a me, without a reader.
Without the assumption of fear, assumption of evil coming towards you. With that clarity, you've always said, we know not to pet a serpent.
You never pet a cobra. And you know when a cobra is coming towards you only if there is no me.
Otherwise, we'll think everybody is that sort of thing.
Okay.
I'm not
So you
quite
shift
convinced.
back and forth, I guess. I don't know. I'm
There
a
is
little-
the thing, okay, yeah, well, what, okay, so what is not, what,
Well, no, I mean, I can imagine the perfect state of seeing things exactly as they are, but then there's that moment when, what are you going to do about it?
then you know what to do about it.
It's,
When you see things as they are, look in everyday life. When you see things clearly as they are, you don't have to then think, what
Right.
do I do about it? It's like it follows, right?
Yeah.
It just, yeah.
I was thinking of the contraption that you
I think what you
invented.
mean by saying things as they are, when you see things as they are, it means if you use your brain, your senses, even your memory, to be able to pick out a way of negotiating through any situation in life, but you detach it from fear and desire. Say, okay, this is the situation.
Mm,
What is the best way to do the situation?
mm,
Not second guessing, not thinking, well, maybe I'm wrong, am I right, am I wrong? Just using what you have to deal with it, because we all have to negotiate
Yes.
thousands and millions of times all day long
Yes, of course.
with things that require things to be remembered. And if we are drawing on memory, we are drawing
Yeah.
on thought, but if we don't attach to it in terms of fear and desire, that's how I see it.
Yes.
An emotion.
It's the concept of right
And without
action
emotion.
is somewhere
Without
in there.
emotion, right.
It's seeing the facts.
So-
Facts.
Yeah,
Seeing
my
the facts.
cognitive function will operate in any situation, and it's gonna operate maximally if there's no me involved. Because the me is just gonna either second guess myself or scare myself, right? Imagine Mary waiting in the wings at Carnegie Hall to play her violin. And so she's either standing there, either shaking in terror, or filled with self-doubt, or maybe overconfident or whatever. But if you could suddenly just get absolutely centered, you'll just go out and
Still.
perform unencumbered by doubt or grandiosity. It's like, those astronauts, that guy made that great story, I forget it now, but, an astronaut, they said there's 10,000 ways you can die in space, and they've practiced every one of them over and over and over again. So when, shit happens, they don't immediately go, oh my God, I'm gonna die. They're just calm and coolly, they know exactly what to do, because they've been over it and over it. So the me tendency immediately doesn't kick in.
And even if you don't know exactly what to do, the fear will just make it hard to,
That's right.
to,
That's right.
you do
To
do what you can.
Yeah.
do what you can.
I think our assumptions are more dangerous most of the time than the situation. Because we're reading into
right.
so much just despair or fear or
And those
anxiety.
guys coming over the hill could be the good guys.
Yeah, they could be the good guys.
On the other hand, sometimes I feel like a horse that is born with the knowledge that fire is something I should run away from.
Yes.
Right,
Sure.
right.
And
Yeah.
that
Nice
has
way of
putting it
clarity.
through.
That's okay.
Yeah.
There's no, and the horse doesn't have an ego for that.
Yeah.
Right.
And the horse doesn't worry about the fire that he hasn't seen yet.
Right.
Yeah. Fires.
I have nightmares or
Krishnamurti would always say, what is needed is clarity, compassion, and then there's right action. Skill in action.
Skill.
Skill in action. Clarity, compassion, skill in action. And for that, I don't need this me. I need an open heart, a clarity, and an ability of seeing the facts of the situation without a judgment, without a fear, without an opinion. Just see the facts of the situation.
It's interesting how reassured people are when you say, what are the facts?
Yes.
Take all the emotion out of it.
That's right.
What are the facts? And then it's
simple.
clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
One can also say the facts are a narrative that we invent out of random things that happen, but that's something else.
Yes, it's something else.
Are you getting political?
Fact, Trump's version of facts are different than mine.
So I'm just curious, so what, if anything, did this touch tonight? If anything, did it touch, did it open, did it close?
Well, I was helpfully reminded of a book on Buddhist psychology that I read many years ago, and I'm really glad I got reminded about it. And it fits in with Paul's device about the me-free zone or the no-I zone or something. And it also fits in, and I'll get to the punchline in a very short time, it fits in with a book about anxiety I read on behalf of a client I had many years ago, and what was being counseled by this anxiety expert was that when the individual was feeling extremely unsettled, that they use the third person pronoun to describe their feelings, either out loud or to themselves. So she is feeling very panicky again, rather than I am feeling panicky or I am anxious, because you're way more than that. Okay, but the Buddhist psychology book was fascinating because it took away all the pronouns. So let's say I'm sitting here feeling jumpy, and the way that would be expressed, the way it would be languaged was, jumpiness is rising up. How brilliant is that? It's like a fact.
Yes.
It doesn't assign an
That's
identity or an
Exactly.
ownership.
Yes, that's
And in our field, we're always talking about owning the feeling.
Yeah.
No!
No.
No!
Right.
We will stay in business a long time if we help the client own the feeling. No.
Right.
We need to put ourselves out of business.
That's right.
That's right.
So I'm really glad I got
Yes.
reminded of that because I needed that today. That's very
And
helpful.
Krishnamurti would always say, the speaker.
Yes.
How do you put it? The
Yes.
speaker.
He would
That's
refer
You
to
were not. You
himself.
never said I.
Right.
Wow.
That's-
Giving up I, me, and mine might be an
That's
interesting practice, like a
The speaker
conceptual art
believes.
form. How else are we going to communicate if you say to me in yoga
Yeah.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
how are you?
You're right.
I'm not going to use the first person pronoun somehow.
Right, and yet it's such a loving thing to do, to look at someone and say, truly mean it. How are you?
Well, maybe we could say,
Yeah.
what's going on?
You are.
So-
What's rising?
Woman, what's going on?
So I guess if I wanted to market T-shirts with my machine, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't say I'm a me-free zone.
Right. Yeah. You have entered a me-free zone.
Or entered.
I'm a me-free zone, right?
So in other words, are we like equal? I'm sort of referring a little bit to what
Yeah.
Jamie was asking before. Are we sort of like individual packages, each one of us designed by a different designer, but made of the same fabric? Is that what we're basically saying? No?
No.
We're not all one infinite fabric in packages?
We're all one, and we're
There's only one.
I mean, in this body package here.
in this body mind. See, because we're not separate. There's distinctions, but there's not separateness. So yes, okay, you could say we're somehow.
Unique instruments.
All right, yes, Mary likes to say unique instruments. I think what's important is to get to the place where we question the existence of a separate me.
Yeah.
You see? Because as long as we believe really that we're a separate me, and we have to question, is that real? Maybe it is. But what if it isn't?
That's
What if
scary
it
if it isn't.
That's why.
Because look at the world that we're in and the people we're in it with.
But there is no separate me, actually. We're all one. We are all one.
I refuse to identify with Donald Trump. I just can't do it.
You have
Or
to-
my own offspring, for that matter.
You have
Yeah,
to learn
okay,
to love
but-
the dialogue. You know?
But there is no identity. That's the point.
We
We
have
want
a
to
lot in
stop
common.
the
We have
self-identification.
bodies, we have
Stop the
feelings.
self-identification with a me. Once I'm able to free myself of that, but I have to investigate it, I have to explore it. But once I'm able to free myself of that, then what is there? Then what is there? Then I just see what it is with these different instruments. But I don't take them to be real. They're not, fundamentally they're not real. They're an instrument of consciousness, expressing itself as these different people. Well, but
The
that's,
idea of a fabric makes sense to me. If it's a fabric with an infinite amount of designs
Yes.
within it,
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
your me is is that design, but you also are the fabric. And so is Donald Trump, and so is everybody else. He just has a different design in you. That's all.
That's how I was thinking about it as well.
Different designs.
That's how I would look at it.
okay, so we want to go a step further. Because we want to understand, is there really a me at all? There's clearly a body, and there's clearly a functioning of a mind. But is there a me at all? And is there a me independent of thought and thinking? Does it really exist? I think that's an important place to go.
I think what we see is all fear arises from the delusion that we're separate from one another.
Yeah.
And the moment we feel that connection of fabric, even though there's difference
Yeah.
in the expression, we are not separate.
I always like the analogy of that we're all separate waves in the ocean, and we all look so different, and then we calm down, and we're actually part of the same body of water.
Does the wave see itself as separate from the ocean? No. So that's an instrument that has risen up, and it's one with its source. But when the wave rises up and says, "Oh, I'm larger than that wave. I'm more powerful than that wave," now it's created a separate sense of self. That's what we do.
But it doesn't last because then it's just...
Well, but we don't last either. We don't last either. This body-mind doesn't last. But that ocean does. That background does. That ultimate light does. So we really need to, and that creates fear. What if there really isn't a me that I've taken myself to be?
We've invested a lot.
And that's what we've been talking about, saying.
That's what we have to keep looking at. And we have to keep seeing as it arises in choiceless awareness. That's all. Very gentle. Very gentle.
That's the part that I think that brings up for me is the compassion part. Like on a good moment, I can be a good witness. Like I can feel the separation. But the compassion part is hard for me. Like in terms of not being judgmental or it's like step 2 that reinforces the ego for me. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. So, but is it possible when the lack of compassion arises, just to see that? Just see that.
That's why Krishnamurti also had another great saying, be choicelessly aware.
Yeah.
Right? Watching what floats on the stream of my consciousness without fretting about it or congratulating about it, or right, just watching it impassively.
And watching the inability to be choicelessly aware. That's all.
And even
Just
accepting that.
yes.
Well,
Yes.
choiceless doesn't mean just don't make choices about it.
There's no choices. There's no judgment. There's
Yeah.
no
I mean, like in
opinion.
that case, it seems specifically to say, don't choose anything, just let it.
It's just what is. It's just what is.
Something isn't good
And
or
it's
bad.
not different than what is.
A friend of mine said to me this week, we were talking about worry,
Mm.
and I said, you know, I wish I could believe, like all the time believe that things are exactly the way they're supposed to be. And she said the most interesting thing, she said, like, what does supposed to be mean? You know, they just are.
That's
Because if they're supposed to be, then there's a not supposed to
Right.
be. So that's a whole other,
We
that's
say that all the time.
just
they just are.
it. Just accepting the what is,
Mm-hmm.
because that's all that's real at that moment. The what is, obviously, right?
Yeah.
We can project about tomorrow, but we're projecting in this moment. We can think about regrets, but it's happening in this moment. There is nothing that's not happening in this now moment.
Could use a little of that in the Middle East.
Oh yes. Unfortunately,
Everybody's an expert on what should be.
yes, that's
Well, and that's everybody identifying with a religion, right? A tribe,
Well,
that he was saying you have to give all that up.
yes.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big
That's
challenge with people who have trace memory of trauma. You know, it's a big challenge to say I'm not going to identify with a religion anymore.
For some.
You know. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the root of
Because that's their
most of our problems in
that's
this
their
world.
me.
You know, you might enjoy the culture of a certain conditioning, you know, the culture.
Mhm.
You can enjoy it in the music, the poetry of it, the words. But can I do that without identifying with it? Yes, of course. There's a great joy in it, but there's no identification. I remember years ago when we were at a meeting with Krishnamurti, and some person came from India, and he was just one of them played the instrument, the sitar, and he was overjoyed. So there was a joy in that. Of course, there's a beauty in that. Enjoy it.